I'm nervous and a little overwhelmed. It's my first time.
Nervous, overwhelmed.
You talk about really paying attention to the emotional range. What do you think about someone that makes a statement like becoming the master of your own mind, or becoming the master of, your emotions? In Buddhism they teach that. So what is your thoughts on that?
It sounds like deliberate creation to us.
Okay.
And we prefer the phrase, if we have to choose one of them, master of emotions over master of mind, because your emotions will guide you to the vibrational stance that will allow the well-being. In other words, you can't stop using your mind. There's too much stimulation and you have too many facilities within you that cause you to focus. But until you use the way you feel to guide your mind, you do not become a master. So we think those two statements can be powerfully and perfectly integrated. I become the master of my mind by becoming the master of my emotions. And we're here saying follow your bliss, which would be an ultimate master of emotion, would be one who has learned to follow bliss. But the thing that we're wanting to point out here, and so many of you help us point it out, is that when you are in agony, you don't have access to thoughts that have the vibration of bliss. You just can't make that jump. It's too big of a quantum leap, any more than you can set your radio tuner on one station and hear what's being broadcast on another. You have to be in the vibrational range in order to pick it up. So that's why we're encouraging that you just reach for something a little better than where you are. And can you feel the power of that? If that's your mantra, I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to make the best of it no matter where you're standing. If you make the best of it, you're going to be in a little better place. And if you make the best of it, you're going to be in a little better place. And if you make the best of it, you're going to be in a little better place. And understanding that, then you know there's no place that you cannot go. So when you say, I'm going to follow my bliss, you might say more realistically, I'm going to follow my bliss, but before I do that, I'm going to follow the trail of hate. Because hate feels so much better than that disempowered depression and despair that I was in when I was feeling totally unworthy and incapable and unnecessary. And then once I've found the trail of hate, then I'm going to reach really hard for the trail of anger, the life-giving trail of anger. I'm going to follow my anger. And then I'm going to follow my overwhelmment. But of course, you're not wanting to be in overwhelmment and then follow the trail of hate. That's going the wrong direction. In other words, so rather than saying follow my bliss, we're saying reach for the best feeling thought I can find and keep reaching until I can ascertain that I have found some particle of relief. Because when you consciously acknowledge that you have found a particle of relief, now you have rediscovered your power. So next time someone says, I don't like your anger, just say, too bad I do. It felt so much better than the disempowerment that I felt right before I discovered this life-giving anger.
I like that.
And then you might say, eventually I will follow my bliss, but for now anger is the best I can do. And mean that. And feel all right about it. In other words, you've got to give yourself permission to be where you are. And we think that the reason that so many people have something eating at them until it really begins to eat at them and they croak from something eating at them, if they could stop and say, here's where I am, and like it or lump it, here's where I am. This is how I feel. And it doesn't have anything to do with you or you or you or you or you. And my keeping your rules isn't going to change the way I feel. Finally, I'm in touch with my own guidance system. Finally, I'm doing the only thing that anybody can ever do, which is measure and pay attention to and mold the range of emotions between where I am usually beating the drum, where my set point is, and where I really want to be. Mm-hmm. And once you get hold of this, you'll go from someone who is usually pretty ornery to somebody who's usually more hopeful to somebody who's usually feeling pretty good to someone who's usually optimistic. And once you get into that optimistic range, friends, the world is your oyster. Once people around you, but more importantly you yourself, are describing yourself as optimistic, there's no place you can't go. If someone says, how do you feel? And you say, well, my emotions vary, but usually I feel happy. Usually I feel excited. Usually I feel content. Usually I feel hopeful. Often I feel eager. Often I feel appreciation. Do you hear what that means? That means you're just mostly in a place of non-resistant. And so as people look at you, they see that you're clear-minded. They see that you feel good. They see that you have energy. They see that doors are opening for you. They see that you appear to have ease in your life. They see that you're tasting all of the good things. And those who don't understand might be jealous. They might call it nepotism. They might call it unfairness, but they don't understand that you have found a way of training your own mind into vibrational patterns that are so free of resistance that well-being is pouring into your experience on all fronts, you see. That's what it has always been about. It's always been about relaxing and allowing the well-being that you deserve to flow. It was that way in the last 1,000 lifetimes you lived. In other words, it's never been different from that. We promise you, you did not do something inappropriate at some other place or point in time that you are now paying for.
Good afternoon.
It is.
Thank you so much for all the news and all the teachings that you bring. It's opened up a whole new dimension for me. My desire is to become a great deliberate creator. And where I have difficulty is when you think of a thought and you want to make it more. And I'm having trouble understanding how to do that.
Well, you know, you don't have to do it. Just stay focused on it and it will become more.
Okay.
Keep talking about it. Keep thinking about it and it becomes more.
I don't have
Law
to.
of attraction will cause it to increase. And as you focus upon it, you establish your vibrational relationship between yourself and it. So the more you focus upon it, the more it reverberates in your vibration. And the more it reverberates in your vibration, the more law of attraction brings you other things around it to think about.
Okay.
Consider this. A genius is just someone who focused upon something. And law of attraction then just brought more. That's all it is.
For example, like when you want to be in perfect health. Is that something that you need to think about every day, and you know it should be bigger every day, and your workshop every day? I mean, how do you?
When you think of something like I want to be in perfect health, there's a possibility that while you may be thinking that you're thinking about being in perfect health, you may be thinking about the absence of being in perfect health, because it's the same subject, just two different ends of the same stick. So that's why our friend helped us to speak about becoming the master of emotion on your way to becoming master of your thought. Because if you're paying attention to the way you feel, then you're always on the right end of the stick. Okay. So you don't have to think about wanting wellness, because everything points to that desire. If you are a little less than well, your desire is ramped up that you want wellness. So the key is to be able to think about the subject of bodily condition and feel good while you think about it. So if someone, for example, mentions that they know someone who just died, and they died of some physical disease, and when you hear it, you find yourself tensing or feeling worry about it, that's an indication that when you think about the subject of wellness, that you may have a proclivity on the other end of the stick, where if you hear something like that and it leaves you feeling nothing, in other words, it does not affect your own sense of vulnerability. And while you may wish well for those around it, you do not feel any big fluctuations in your own vibration, then that means that what happens to someone else is a non-issue to you, because you are stable in your knowing of your own well-being.
Okay.
We talk about practicing a thought, but we're really more talking about practicing the feeling. Gently practicing the feeling of well-being on all of the topics that are important to you. That's what we would do.
If you have an illness and a doctor's prescribed medicine for you, if you take the medicine, does that give more power to the illness, or should you abandon taking the medicine?
Well,
or how do you...
we could not give the same answer to everyone, because for some, the medicine gives them the feeling of relief that makes them more likely to recover. For some, the medicine may remind them of the illness and make them less likely to recover. That's why the same process doesn't work for everyone. And that's why you cannot measure what anybody else is doing about anything. You have to decide how it feels to you. But put it into these terms, and we think it will be easier. you're reaching for feelings of relief. So when you think about your physical body and you think about something that you want, you're trying to find ways to think about it that make you feel good while you think about it, or feeling thoughts that give you less bad feeling.
Okay.
So we think that reaching for the feeling of relief is really a good way to go about it, because you can tell when you found something that feels better, and when you do, just keep saying it and keep speaking it. Esther and Jerry have teased one another through the years. Esther will say to Jerry, she doesn't say it so much anymore, but she still thinks it from time to time, you just keep saying that, because Jerry stubbornly will make up his mind about something, and it does not matter what other evidence is out there. He refuses to look at contrary evidence to his own desire. He will not look at it. And as he does not do that, then in time, on every subject that is important to him, his vibration wins out. Esther remembers running through the bushes with him one day. They were leaping over logs and over rocks and running up and down streams, and Esther was ahead of him and sort of distracted him, and he banged his leg, his shin, on something, and he didn't even stop to look at it. He limped off and then did his best to forget about it and would not talk to Esther about it. And she kept saying, let me see, let me see, let me see. And he kept swatting her away. He did not want to give his attention to it, and he did not want her to either. And that's really what we are encouraging, just becoming very stubborn about turning your attention to things that you know darn well are going to cause you to feel a way you don't want to feel. And there are many who would say, oh, Abraham, you are teaching denial. And we say, we absolutely are. We would deny anything that was not a vibrational match to what we are wanting, because we know how truths are made. Truths come in response to your vibrational attention. Period. So you can make anything you want your truth. It might as well be something that pleases you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
There's a little exercise that you gave in here related to that, and I've been doing it, and I enjoy it very much. This is one part of it that I would like you to clarify, and it's that exercise where you say, we'll take a piece of paper and write down for 1 minute how I'd like to feel, and another few minutes of what I'd like to have, and then the last few minutes on what I want, what I'm going to do today. And that's the part I don't understand what was meant by that, what I'm going to do today, probably to tie into those feelings. So I try to do the exercise, but I think the only thing I come up with is, well, I'm going to try to hold myself aware of my feelings.
Well, the reason that we were taking it further is when you decide how you want to feel, and then you try to think thoughts that you think would feel like that. Often, once you achieve that, then ideas of what you might do that might feel like that will come about too. In other words, they all dovetail together. First there is the thought, and then there is the word, and then there is the action. That's the most comfortable unfolding. So once you beat the drum of something in thought, enough that it stirs an emotion within you, now all kinds of thoughts are going to come that follow that, which means it's going to become easier and easier for you to speak about it. And once you're speaking about it pretty regularly, then there's enough vibration around it that circumstances and events are happening around you, and now your action is being affected. So that was just the gentle progress. But today, we are not encouraging action before the vibration. In other words, we are really proponents of taking action from an inspired stance rather than from a motivated stance. And the reason that we wrote that in the way that we did is because there are so many people that say, well, I'll do this action, and if I do this action, then it will affect this feeling. And we say, well, what happens if you're doing an action from a vibrational vantage point that's not where you want it to be, then law of attraction just brings you more around that, so your life just gets more complicated rather than less complicated. Things get worse rather than better. It's better to create from the inside out, which means adjust the feeling, which means find the thought that feels differently, and then, by your own words, focus upon that thought until it becomes more. And as you shore up that vibration so that it becomes a stronger point of your vibrational point of attraction, then all things that come to you come in response to this newfound vibration.
That it's behaviors. Is that what you're
Action will follow.
Okay.
And you make a good point, because most people, and it's the way most of you have been trained, you're taught to do this and not to do this. There is very little regard given to the way you feel. In other words, the commandments are talking about what you should do and what you should not do, mostly about what you should not do. We're not very happy with the commandments that you fashioned. We would not take credit for those if we were studying it.